Hey guys, welcome to my studio. First of all, it's thunderstorming here, so if you hear any loud booming sounds, that would be why. Today I am working in my sketchbook. I am just about finished with my sketchbook, and as of right now, I'm finishing up the very last page, so I'm hoping in the next few days I'll be able to record a sketchbook tour and have that up for you guys. Maybe next week, maybe at the end of this week. I'm not totally sure yet, but either way, it will definitely be soon. Some footage got corrupted when I was recording this, so I lost a little bit of the beginning when I was drawing the bats. But as I said before, I'm just working in my sketchbook today. And I wanted to talk about sketchbooks in general because I feel like I've finally gotten a groove with them, whereas I never could get into them before. I've had sketchbooks growing up, but I've always either just drawn on computer paper, or when I was getting into digital art, I would just do everything digitally and not even have a sketchbook. I would try to download those. In the early iPad days, they had like a little notebook app that you could have pretend digital sketchbooks, and that was really cute, but I was just terrible at keeping a sketchbook in general, whether it was traditional or digital. And thinking about why that is, I think that's totally fine. I don't think anybody has to keep a sketchbook if they don't want to, but I always wanted to, and yet I couldn't, and I was thinking about why, and I think I finally figured that out. I think for me, it just came down to confidence. I was too afraid to draw things that I wouldn't like, so I never practiced different things. If I wanted to draw something new, I would just think of an idea and then draw it as like a finished artwork. And I think that's fine. Obviously I learned by doing that. Like I'm not at the same artistic level I was when I was like 15 years old, but this past year, my art skills have improved a lot. And I really think that the reason for that is not necessarily the volume of art that I've made, which it has been a lot. I have been drawing way more than I would in the past, so that's definitely part of it. But I think the biggest thing for me is just the fact that I've been actually keeping a sketchbook and drawing different things, like different animals that I've wanted to draw but haven't been able to before, drawing nature, like plants and flowers, and kind of just everything. Like you'll see when I do my sketchbook tour that the very beginning of my sketchbook is rough. It's very like directionless. Like I didn't know where I wanted to go. I didn't know what my art style was because it had been so long since I drew. So I was just very rusty and very amateurish, and I think that's super obvious in the beginning of my sketchbook. But you notice, and again, you'll see this when I do my sketchbook tour, but you notice that as it continues on, when I get to the later pages of my sketchbook, including this spread that I'm working on now, it starts to become more cohesive in a way. Like I start using similar mediums rather than just jumping around to a bunch of different things like colored pencil, then gouache, then watercolor, then I still jump around a little bit, but it's still a lot more cohesive, and the style is similar among pages. It doesn't jump around so obnoxiously. And really, that's just practice. Like I've been using this sketchbook for a year now, and yeah, I think I started it in September, so it's almost been an entire year. Yeah, so the early drawings are a little rough, and I think that's a really good thing. Like it's good for me to look back on because it kind of reinforces that a sketchbook should be for practice. Like I'm not over here telling you how you should do your drawing. Like an art practice is an art practice for a reason, and like what works for one person isn't going to work for another person. But personally, this is working for me. And I'm kind of kicking myself for not doing this before and not just having the confidence to draw whatever I really wanted to draw and not be afraid to mess up, not be afraid to make ugly drawings, because I made ugly drawings anyway. They would just be more nicely polished ugly drawings. So either way, it was gonna happen. But I had a lot of fun with this sketchbook. I tried a lot of new things. Like I said, I tried different mediums. I also found out what inspired me. I've always been inspired by nature, and I've always been inspired by space and by anime, particularly magical girls, and I think you'll see that a lot in my sketchbook. But I really honed in, I think, on the type of inspiration that I find in nature and in anime. And I don't know if that would have happened if I hadn't looked up a bunch of references of various things on Pinterest and on other websites and just drawn a bunch of different things. I'm sorry this kind of sounds scatterbrained. I don't have a script or anything. I'm just kind of going off a feeling and hoping that it turns out okay. But in reference to what I'm actually drawing here, I really wanted to draw bats because I drew them a couple times before, and I didn't love how they turned out. So I wanted to try again, kind of like what I did with the foxes. If you didn't see, I made a short about some foxes that I drew in the past and then some foxes that I drew more recently. And just the difference is kind of crazy. So I wanted to do a similar thing with bats because I love bats. They might be my second favorite animal. It's hard to say I have a favorite animal because I just love them in general, but I do really love bats. I think they look like puppy dogs with really cool wings, and I just wanted to draw them, and I want to keep drawing them. And I wanted to use colored pencil. I didn't use any watercolor this time because I don't know, I just wasn't feeling it. I was just feeling lots of colored pencils and lots of colors. So I kind of stuck with the color scheme of purple and pink and blue and orange. Kind of like, it reminds me of like a sunrise or maybe a sunset. But I stuck with that color theme for the entire spread, and I think it looks really pretty in the end. I didn't completely fill up the pages, so there's some blank space here and there, but I got a little fatigued with drawing bats and I just wanted to stop and draw something else. But I had a lot of fun with this page. It was nice using just a bunch of different colors, and I didn't do a whole lot of thinking. I just looked up pictures of bats and just started drawing and coloring them, and it was very relaxing, and I think I learned a lot about how bats look and how their wings work, and especially when they're sleeping, because they look very strange, especially with their little feet hanging from branches. It's very cute. After the bats, I decided to draw a bat character who you've seen on this channel before. I don't think I've made a long form video featuring her, I'm not sure, but I did make a short also involving her, and I don't have a name for her yet, but I really like her. She's specifically the long-eared bat, so it's the kind of bat that has like just crazy big ears and a really silly looking nose, and it kind of looks like a heart shape, so I decided to roll with that and make her theme hearts and give her a lot of red, because when I make characters, I notice that I use a lot of blue and purple and sometimes orange, but I don't use red, ever. I hardly ever use red in my drawings, so I wanted to challenge myself and make a whole character whose main color is red. So she doesn't have a name yet. If you have any suggestions, leave them in the comments. I'm thinking maybe Enna. My first thought was Nadja, but then I was like, that's literally the name of the vampire in What We Do in the Shadows, so I think that's a little too, I just think that's copying maybe a little too directly. So if you have any suggestions for a name, let me know. Aside from her name, she's undergone a lot of changes since I first created her. She started off as just very cutesy and happy, and then I made her incredibly edgy for some reason, like borderline villain character. She was supposed to be a foil to my other character, Pip, who is very happy-go-lucky, just very kind in general. Typical kids show protagonist with not very many flaws, but I wanted her to be slightly different. So I think I settled on her being only slightly edgy, maybe a little sassy, kind of like the sassy best friend character that is in a lot of shows. But she is a long-eared bat, like I said before, but she's actually pretty self-conscious about the fact that she's a bat, specifically her wings. She's kind of, I don't want to say vain, but she cares about her looks a lot, and so she tries to play herself off as a vampire bat by wearing this, it's not a cape, but it's like a collar that makes it look like her wings are actually a cape, so she can kind of pretend to be a vampire, even though she's not a vampire bat, she's just a long-eared bat. I don't know, I'm still working on it, but I think I like where it's going so far. But I just did a whole bunch of drawings of various front views and side views and back views, along with like a few different expressions, just because I want to get a clear picture of how I want to draw her and how I want like her model, quote unquote, to look like. I'm not an animator by any means, but I still like to have a clear idea of how I want my characters to look, and I think I got a good idea. I definitely still need to work on her. I don't know why. Pip came to me so naturally. My fox character, it's like I didn't have to think about it at all, but for some reason, this character is giving me a lot of trouble. But I'm doing my best, and I'm getting very close. I can feel it. I'm starting to really like how she looks. I love her color scheme already. I just need to really nail down the details, like exactly how I want her collar to look and her wings, like what I want to happen on the inside of her wings, all that little detail stuff. But again, I like how it's looking. But I'm going to give you the last couple minutes to just enjoy the music, because I think I ran out of things to talk about. So enjoy, and I will see you at the end. So here is how everything turned out. I had a lot of fun with this, and I hope you enjoyed coming with me for this little sketching session, and I hope to see you at the sketchbook tour whenever that comes out. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye! And as always, thank you so much to my super awesome patrons, Cup of Leo, Harry Hamster, Subside, Nene, Mikey, and Gumi. You guys are super duper awesome, and I really appreciate your support.